Hello, and welcome back. For those who don't know, my name is Mpho Mtsi, and I will be your host again today. We're now on day 2 of the Association of South African Black Actuarial Professionals, the ASABA 2020 Conference and Excellence Awards. I hope you all enjoyed yesterday, even half as much as I did. We discussed everything from effective mentorship, remuneration, seeing more women getting a seat at the proverbial table, and of course, the types of leaders we need. The conversation was just so inspiring, respectful, even when we differed in our opinions, and just so practical, which I love. I've really enjoyed all your feedback, and I remind you to please update your profiles, network, and engage with each other, and also use the opportunity to go back to some of the recordings after the sessions. I think that's a really great feature of this platform. I was delighted actually to see that an overwhelming majority of you felt more empowered to get that seat at the table after yesterday's discussions. So thank you so much for answering yesterday's poll. That was really great feedback, and please keep it coming. So we really appreciate it, and we'd like to thank our sponsors as well again today: Old Mutual Limited, Liberty Group, Discovery Limited, and Sanlam Limited. You guys rock. And now, today we're going to start with our AGM, beginning with the operations update. So we're going to have Daniel Mahatlane presenting on mentorship. We have Nabila Collier presenting on the Actuarial Women's Committee. We have Zanele Ngaiya presenting on vacation work, and we're gonna have Tsietsi Ngobese presenting on schools outreach. They'll each have about 5 minutes, and like we did so well yesterday, we aim to stick to the time that we have committed. And then thereafter, we will have the finance update from Anderson Pillay. So thank you, Daniel. You may now present.
Right. Thank you very much, Mpho. Dear members, thank you for joining us once again today. It's been a great privilege for myself to have led the mentorship portfolio during the year 2020. It's been a great year of learning leadership and also just challenging myself, but also developing a vision of what this portfolio needs to do for our members. In terms of the highlights for the year, I would like to start by thanking Liberty, which is the core sponsor of the portfolio. It has been a challenging year for everybody, and you can imagine that as a donor-funded organization, I'm sure that everybody was looking to cut, to cut expenses and all that, but I'm very happy to report that Liberty has been very supportive in terms of our programs and in terms of our needs within my portfolio. So I am very grateful for that. In terms of just giving you a highlight of how the university chapters look that are being supported by the mentorship portfolio, we have our representation at the University of Cape Town, University of the Free State, and University of Pretoria currently. And then our prospective university chapters, the ones that we are working hard on implementing for the year next year, are in the University of the Northwest and University of Johannesburg. We have made significant progress in terms of speaking to students within those universities and also just establishing leadership structures that can help us implement those chapters. But at the end of the day, it is up to the students within those universities to always reach out to ASABA and tell us that they would like to join us. In terms of what we were able to do this year, a lot of our programming was unfortunately disrupted by COVID-19, like most things in life. But we were able to pivot and go online for things that did not require physical contact. And on that, we introduced a few initiatives that have worked quite well, using online platforms. We have one initiative called ASABA on the Move, which basically brings a mentor to talk to mostly our working members. We were very fortunate to have Mr. Lusani, who is the ASA president, join us and just give some guidance to students ahead of the first examination session before June. We also have university mentorship. We have moved that session online. We've had a few of those events, each one being hosted by the 3 universities that are currently full members of ASABA. And then we introduced a new initiative called Opportunities in Industry. We have been able to pilot a series that spoke to opportunities within the insurance industry, where we had a panel of experts from actuaries to other business people associated with the industry. The prototype went very, very well, and we would like to extend that during the next year to other industries such as banking, consulting, and wider emerging fields. There are other planned initiatives that we have for the year 2021. We are aiming to introduce one-on-one mentorship. So there will be a call for participants. We'll be calling on experienced members of ASABA to become mentors, and we'll be calling for younger or people who are just starting off in their careers to become mentees within the system. We will circulate the details sometime before the end of the year. And then we hope that, there's been promise of vaccines and all that. So maybe if life does improve and breaks our way next year, we can return to some physical events, perhaps towards the end of the year. And then we hope to also have dialogue sessions. I was very encouraged last night when we had the remuneration talk, and there was a spirited debate. I think we could all benefit from getting together every now and then and having strong dialogue sessions. Thank you very much. I'd like to pass back to the program director.
Thank you very much, Daniel. Could we have Nabila, please? Nabila?
Sorry about that. Okay, so thank you very much, Mpo. And as Mpo said, I'm Nabila, the head of the Actuarial Women's Committee. The purpose of the AWC is to encourage the increase in the number of qualified female actuaries, as well as to promote the advancement of female actuaries in the workplace. The committee achieves this through various subcommittees, including events, mentorship, outreach, and communications. The theme for my term as chair has been Empowered Women, Empower Women. We are all empowered in some way or form by being part of this profession, having gotten a degree and found a job. As a result, I believe we have the responsibility to use this power to empower others. 2020 has been a busy year for the AWC. We started off the year by launching our new logo. You can see it at the top left of the slide. We've also had a very full year filled with some of our regular initiatives and some new ones. These include the launch of the AWC Leadership Development Program, masterclasses, various engagements, Date with the Leaders, and AWC Dames of the Roundtable, and outreach. Let's dive deeper into each of these. Due to the lockdown, all our initiatives had to be run virtually. This meant that some of our usual initiatives could not be run, so we had to rethink and re-strategize to make sure our plan was COVID-friendly. We took up the challenge, brightened our lights, swapped our heels for slippers, and embraced Zoom. We were able to bring our offering to many more people than we had before and unite people from all over the country. While some elements are lost by not being in person, we found that there was still a lot that can be gained. This year saw the launch of the first cohort of the AWC Leadership Development Program. This is a program that I'm so passionate about. The aim of this year-long program is to aid the development of women in the actuarial profession that are newly or nearly qualified and looking to progress their careers. This program includes 17 ladies from across the country, all striving to be the best version of themselves. Some of the sessions we've had so far include Resilience and Self-Awareness with Karika Nell, What Next After Qualification by Billy Enderstein, Carving a Career Path with Maxi Boshoff, Personal Branding with Jasmine van Skalkbeek, Qualities of Leadership with Margaret Carey, saying no, putting down boulders, and fierce compassion with Shivani Ranchod, and there's so much more still to come. Over the year, we've had various masterclasses. We started off with the Imposter Syndrome masterclass with Despina Senatore, which was oversubscribed and showed us the need for us to be having these conversations. The session resonated with so many people, and we received excellent feedback. Following on from this success, we hosted a mental wellness session with Debbie Whelan, and Image Matters, Confidence is Key with Jean-Marie Hellich for Women's Day, and most recently, the Being Fearless Masterclass with Leanne Naidu. We look forward to hosting more of these sessions that continue to address and challenge the psychosocial factors affecting women in the actuarial profession. One of our new initiatives this year is the AWC Dames of the Roundtable discussions. Following on from our first two masterclasses, we felt that there was a need to continue the conversation around the imposter syndrome and mental health. As a result, we set up a panel and invited our panelists to the table. After the success, energy, and passion of the first Dames of the Roundtable, we decided to host another one. This time, we focused on motherhood and the working mom. The session hosted earlier this week was filled with so much advice, so many great stories, and a support and camaraderie amongst the speakers and attendees. As we move to a virtual working world, we have also adapted and upped our virtual engagements over the year. We launched 2 newsletters already, and the third will be coming out before the end of the year. Members of the AWC participated in the Femi Act virtual event series hosted by Shivani Ranchod, Chiara Medela, and Kara Khadild, aimed at shedding some light on the incredible women that occupy the actuarial science space and providing students across South Africa with sources of inspiration and motivation. We launched our LinkedIn page and our new wiki site, a place for all our information to be shared. We also launched a video diary series on Instagram, allowing actuarial women to share their stories and advice of how they got to be where they are. Date with the Leader initiatives continued, with the most recent date being with Anne Livingston. The aim of this initiative is to get to know the person behind the title in a relaxed, non-threatening environment. This type of interaction will hopefully make it easier to relate to the leader and give our members a sense of, if they can do it, so can I. We also took advantage of the fact that COVID has made the world smaller. So we reached out to the author of the best-selling book, Playing Big, by Tara Moore, who hosted a virtual session for us all the way from San Francisco. Tara's session is available on our wiki site for those that missed it. Lastly, aligned with our goals and vision, we once again partnered with SubsPads. Due to the lack of access to sanitary wear, schoolgirls are not going to school while menstruating, and this results in their education being hindered by 25% each year. In 2019, we began our partnership with Subs. We are helping to raise money for reusable sanitary pads with the aim of keeping girls in school. Finally, I would like to congratulate the new leadership of the AWC, who I have no doubt will take the AWC to new heights and who will lead the charge for the empowerment of women. Congratulations to Yashoda, who will be the new chair of the AWC for 2021 and 2022, and Idelia, who will be the deputy chair for the same term. It is bittersweet to hand over, but I'm filled with excitement for what is to come under your era. It has been an honor serving with the members of the ASABA Exco. Thank you so much, and wishing you all of the success for the future. Back to you, Mpo.
Thank you so much, Nabila, and congratulations to our chair and our chair-elect. Nabila, you've done an amazing job. We are really, really so proud to have had you, and you've really taken us to the next level. Thank you. May I ask Zanele to speak next?
Thank you, Paul. So the vacation work portfolio seeks to be an actuarial student's introduction to the financial industry. The 2 key purposes of this portfolio are to bridge the gap between learned actuarial material and its application in industry, and to provide work experience opportunities for future actuaries coming from previously disadvantaged communities. In the wake of the global pandemic, the challenge of developing young actuarial careers has become that much more demanding of new ways to connect students with opportunity in uncertain times, all the while maintaining the value of ASABA membership to our student body. The 2020 winter break virtual vacation work. That was our first go at going virtual after the pandemic. It was a new normal. So we launched the annual VAC work program virtually to keep in line with the imposed nationwide travel restrictions. Students used devices they have in hand and those provided by their paid employer to engage in their assigned work. We are cognizant of the risk of excluding students without access to laptops, mobile data, Wi-Fi, and even the space for workstations in their homes that would assist experience. The mid-year dry run is what we needed to identify ways to make this the new normal. We have to work with employers to provide necessary means for students to optimally participate. The take-up rates this year for the virtual VAC work were significantly lower than previous years, as many employers had not yet had capacity to take on students virtually, and some university timetables were uncertain. We had MBE Consulting take up just one student, and we had Liberty take up 4 students in total. So we do foresee a second virtual vacation work for the December-Jan session, which we will execute with the experience of the mid-year session. And that involves a lot of working with our VAC work partners. In order to somewhat substitute the incapacity to take up as many students as possible, we are now working with Pamela Heelig from MBE Consulting on an online introductory course to life insurance space. So this is to continue to allow students a window into industry work. And we're going to be coordinating this, Pamela will be coordinating this course, and we hope to expand the course structure beyond life insurance sector, which she will be covering. Thank you very much. I'll hand over to Mpho.
Thank you, Zanele. Next up is Tsietsi Ngobese. Thank you. We're just preparing Tsietsi's video. It's just loading now. You'll give us just 2 seconds. Thanks, Tsietsi. I think if you can just maximize that. Great. Thank you. Tsietsi, you are on mute. Okay, we're just having a little bit of trouble with Tsietsi's feed.
Okay, I'm unmuted now. Can you hear me?
Yes, you're unmuted, but I just can't see your presentation. I don't know if you'd like to speak without it instead.
Now I'll share the screen again because I had to unmute.
Okay, let's give it a try. These things happen in 2020.
Yeah, getting used to the new norm. Okay.
Great, we have our presentation.
Yes. Okay, once more, thank you very much for the opportunity. So I'm Tsietsi Ngobese, heading the school outreach portfolio. What has been a very, very exciting year, and sad at the same time because we couldn't reach some of the learners across the country due to the pandemic and the travel restriction. So all the planned school outreach programs were not possible. However, our purpose on the school outreach portfolio is to create awareness to students across the country as early as from grade 9, 10, 11, and 12, so that at least they choose their maths as their pure maths as one of their subjects to enable them to become future actuaries. So when the pandemic came in, we couldn't reach out to many learners across the country, and we couldn't do any of the school outreach visits. So we launched the ASABA hashtag Become an Actuary program, where we open up to learners across the country to apply. We received over 860 applicants, and out of those 860 applicants, 132 were successful to be part of the program, where they got mentored, and some of the learners were assisted to apply to universities to study actuarial science next year. However, we are aware that some of the learners got excluded because they couldn't have access to data and then access to the internet and couldn't join us in some of the online mentorships that we were having on Zoom due to those connectivity challenges. However, we were able to manage to communicate with them through emails and through our WhatsApp group, where we're able to give them instant feedback and other clarity on how they can pursue their career in the actuarial profession. And through some of the school visits preparation for the exam post the pandemic, we're able to go give talks and provide some of the guidelines to the learners that were getting ready for their matric, which was quite a success. And above all that, we continue to have a close session with some of the learners who were part of the ASABA Becoming Actuary program, which was uh, gladly received by most of the students across the country. And from the learners that who were successful, most of them were from Gauteng, but we had representation from across the country with a low turnout from the Eastern Cape. And what also been an exciting journey for us as ASABA, so we have our program called ASABA Care, which is the community outreach program in partnership with We Solve for X Foundation. So now, as part of the ASABA Care community outreach initiative, we look at to impact and inspire communities. And what we were looking at in those areas was to have impact. So what we did, we were able to reach out to different communities and donate food parcels during the hard lockdown, where we were also able to assist in terms of providing seeds to families, over 80 families, to start their home food-based gardens. In that case, that at least we can ensure food security, because we were quite aware that the food parcel alone was not quite a sustainable mechanism that we can use going forward. However, the home gardening project has seen quite elevating some of the challenges in that space. And through the ASABA Care community outreach, we were able to donate food parcels and sanitary pads to some of the young girls. And through that whole project, we were able also to offer some of the maths lessons to students in small groups, keeping in line with the COVID regulations, getting them prepared for their final matric maths exams, and we rooting for them, hoping all the best for them. So currently, with the database that we have of the students who are part of the program, we'll be looking out for them and pairing them with the university chapters next year, January, when the results come out, and we'll continue to follow up with them to ensure that we give them the necessary required support going forward. And also, what has been our main success, we've been able to pioneer some of the environmental projects where we inspired cleaning campaigns, coupled with turning some of these illegal dumping sites into garden projects for communities so that they can fight hunger in that regards. So we're able to provide cleaning campaigns in terms of the illegal dumping site and ensuring that we keep a healthy, clean environment as eco warriors. So what also has been quite an exciting year, because our mandate is to promote the actuarial profession. We have managed to promote the actuarial profession throughout the country through different mediums on the mainstream TV, your radios and newspapers. We're able to push the actuarial mandate and ensure that more and more people are informed about the actuarial profession, because in that case, we're able to have impact. But what has been our most called a highlight, the success highlight, was when we had our significant contribution on the metric paper LO, where on question 2, it was based on my story as an actuary and the cleaning campaign project, where part of the exam question style was to get the learners to think critically on how they can provide solutions to solve environmental challenges and also introduce the actuarial profession. So in that regard, it also gave us an opportunity to introduce the actuarial profession to all matric learners who wrote their final LO exam on the 23 of October nationwide. So to us, this has marked one of the greatest significance. So we're able, by our contribution into the education system and inspiring the next generation of actuaries, we were able to promote the profession throughout to some of the learners that you couldn't reach to them. So this gave us a huge milestone, and we're looking forward to seeing the memo of the paper next year. And as part of an ASABA alumni, so I was part of the ASABA University of the Free State chapter, and as an alumni, we live by one of the codes. So in order for us to address the challenge that we face in the profession, as South Africa having over 58 million population, which 81% are representative of Black South Africans. However, the profession has less than 1% being represented by Black South Africans. So I'll just read through what we say at ASABA, which give us courage to continue doing what we say. I'll try not to be too poetic. The code says, leave actuarial transformation agenda to actuaries. We challenge that. The code says, only corporate can transform the actuarial profession. We challenge that. The code says, actuaries don't care. We challenge that. We love numbers, yet we don't treat everyone like one. And that is why at ASABA, we challenge the code. And we're looking forward to inspiring the next generation of actuaries. And thank you very much.
Thank you, Tsietsi. You know, our president, Memory Zimba, has just reminded me that considering that this is our AGM, so it is no longer part of the normal proceedings of the conference, but it is our official annual general meeting. What we should have done in the beginning is first establish whether we have quorum. So I do apologize for that. I just want to double check with the team in the background that we are all set and okay for that. Please do confirm. But thank you so much to everyone who has presented so far. I think we can continue in the meantime. I'm getting an indication that I think we should be okay. We'll ask Anderson Pillay to come with his presentation.
Thank you, Paul. I think while I just wait for my presentation to get up, I'd like to think, you know, we save the best for last, but my colleagues probably will disagree with me. In any event, I think, you know, the finance function, you know, it's sometimes overlooked, but, you know, it's really important part of ASABA. And, you know, we've tried really hard over this past year to make sure that certain initiatives are put in place to ensure that there's a strong platform from which, you know, the other very, very exciting initiatives that have been presented earlier can, you know, progress with. So I'll try to keep it short and sweet. So earlier this year, we decided to appoint an external accounting firm. I think, you know, as I said, you know, we tried to go through a bit of a governance change to ensure that, you know, there's sort of a separation of duties. This bodes well for both our members and for our sponsors to understand that the finances are being held separately. And for the first time, we decided that we will do an independent review of our financial statements. It hasn't been done in the past, and we're progressing towards, at some point in the future, getting them audited. But, you know, baby steps, and we're getting there, and good progress is made on that front. With regards to the financials for 2020, we only need to submit it to the South African Revenue Services by the end of Feb next year. and we're currently in progress with completing them. It's sitting between my accountant and myself for review. So hopefully we can get an update out in a newsletter early next year around where we are with the financial statements. My predecessor at the previous AGM, made a comment about, the tax and other issues that ASABA was going through at that point. I can confirm that ASABA is now fully compliant with SARS. There are no outstanding amounts of payments or anything of that sort. The one thing that is still in progress with the South African Revenue Services is a PBO registration. Basically, we're trying to apply to be a public benefit organization, but we, based on our recent talks with our legal advisors, that is on hold, and we're looking, to understand what is the best way forward around ensuring we have tax exemption status. So that's in progress, and we'll provide more feedback, probably early in the new year around our PBO application and those aspects related to governance. Just very quickly around the budgets and the cost for 2020. Initially budgets were set prior to the lockdown and the COVID pandemic, hitting our world. So we set initial budgets totaling around 1.2 million. Unfortunately, with the lockdown and a lot of the events and the very, very good initiatives that were presented earlier, couldn't take place. So our committee heads had to submit revised budgets, allowing for the impact of the COVID pandemic. And you'll see that those total budgets now are sitting around 828. And while the year isn't up as yet, there is still some buffer in place to make sure that we use, where appropriate, the funds for the benefit of our members and the public at large. I can tell you as of today, we've used approximately about 280,000, of those funds to the various committees. Some of them more than others. For example, the mentorship, we've used about 148,000, but that, has its own specific sponsor in Liberty. And they always come to the party when it comes to, sourcing the funding or any payments that need to be made in respect of the initiatives that Daniel and his team have undertaken, as well as with the actual Women's Committee that Nabila presented early on with those initiatives. So there is some scope for events to happen if they can, but if they do not happen this year, we'll definitely make sure that there's money available next year for events, provided obviously that there's some control of the pandemic. There's about 680,000 sitting in the bank account at present. And we do expect a bit of funding for the rest of 2020 for various committees, such as the mentorship and the AWC and the Treasury part, where Liberty and ASA are the sponsors for those specific committees. And just finally, to touch on our sponsorships and our income for the year, as mentioned, Liberty is the sponsor on the mentorship side. And ASA is a partial sponsor on the AWC side. They're also a partial sponsor on the Treasury side. I mentioned earlier about having a separate accounting function. ASA, we're happy to fund part of that on the basis that we have this independence in place on the Treasury side. And then, as Paul alluded to when she started this AGM, there are ASABA conference sponsors for 2020. And, we're grateful for their sponsors. We're grateful to any sponsors, not just in money, but also in kind and in other favors, because that also goes a long way in ensuring that we can be sustainable as an organization. And the other one to mention is just that we do have some sort of income from job adverts. There was one in this year from Citadel. But apart from that, these are the sponsors and the income for the 2020 financial year, or 2020 calendar year rather. Paul, I'm happy to take any questions, if any, but that's my presentation for now.
Thank you so much, Anderson, and thank you to everyone who's presented for sticking to the time. I do appreciate that. If there's any questions, please just drop them in the chat box. We will try to address them, or I'll also ask the speakers to just address them in the chat box as well throughout the rest of the conference. Thank you very much. And at this point, I would like to welcome the new head of communications and the membership portfolio. This is Hassan Kaniki. Welcome to the ASABA leadership, and we really look forward to seeing what you're going to do with the portfolio. Could we just have a few words from you introducing yourself? We have just got you frozen and we can't hear you. I don't know if it's just me. Okay, while we sort out Hassan's sound, we still cannot hear you. Sorry, Hassan. So while Hassan sorts out his sound, I just want to advise that we will need you as members to endorse Hassan for this new role. So please, will you just comment in the chat box just so we can take note of that? And just for our records that you have endorsed Hassan for his new role as the head of the communications and membership portfolio. So let's just double check now if we have Hassan's sound. Okay, you're just on mute. If you can just unmute now, let's see. Okay, sadly, there's no sound coming from Hassan. I really apologize, but at least you've seen his face. So I think perhaps a little bit later, if we can manage this in the background, we'll try to sort out the tech. If we can just hear from him a little bit later. But in the meantime, I am just so confident in the leadership at ASABA that we are not only going to keep growing, but we're going to go from strength to strength, only keep improving going forward. So thank you to our leadership team. English data bundles are finished. I believe we can now progress to our evening function. So we shall see you in 5, or should I say about 7 minutes. Enjoy your brief break. Grab that glass of wine. I told you English bundles are getting finished. Grab that glass of wine and let's get ready for our evening festivities. I now declare that the AGM is closed. Thank you.